All right, I'm all packed up and ready to go, so it's time to hit the road, and you want to come with me to Washington? Bye, Lucy. Have a good time without me. And we're off. I know what you're thinking. What would cause a man, a seemingly normal man, to ditch work and take the all-American road trip from Tennessee to D.C.? Is it simply just the call of the open road? A desire to see all that this great country has to offer, to take in the sights and sounds, to travel around mountains and through forest, to sample the country's best roadside coffee, and then to visit our conveniently located rest areas, to marvel at the ingenuity of our highways, to soak up the ambiance of our waterways, to take in the breathtaking grandeur of our country's natural wonders, or to marvel at the beauty of our native wildlife. Or is it something else? Well, it's actually because of something that's inside of me. You see, I've got what's commonly known as UFO disease.
UFO disease?
Yeah, UFO disease.
Bad case of it?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And it's caused the relentless desire to dig for the truth. Its symptoms are a lot like gold fever, but without all the backbreaking labor and dirt under your fingernails. I have an unquenchable thirst to get to the bottom of this mystery. And I can't think of any place closer to the bottom to dig for the truth than Washington, D.C. You see, there's only one cure for UFO disease, and it's knowing. I suspect that there's something to all the reports. I think there's a truth hidden under all the lies and disinformation, but I don't know. And I can't know until I get either exposure or disclosure. Exposure to the phenomenon itself or disclosure from officialdom backed by data. And since I don't think a face-to-face encounter is something that I personally want to experience, I'm heading to DC. I have two objectives that I want to accomplish on this journey, and I want you to come along with me. One, to have a front row seat for an event that could take us one step closer to history being made, where humanity is forever changed by being informed that we are not alone. And two, speak to our elected officials that are pursuing the truth to let them know that they have our support, and to act as a conduit to let them speak directly to you. So here's what happened. Well, I made it to Washington. I'm just outside of the city, probably about 30 minutes away. I got an early morning tomorrow, so I got to go do some ironing, take care of some things, and get some sleep because tomorrow's going to be a long day. Because I was going to attend my first open congressional hearing that next day, which is only the second UFO hearing to take place in the last 50 years. And although I'm fully expecting a dog and pony show, there is always that chance that this hearing could be the moment. This hearing that was only announced last week is being held by the members of the Senate Armed Services Committee, but more specifically by the Emerging Threats and Capabilities Subcommittee, and is to be chaired by Senator Gillibrand, who is a leading voice in Congress for taking the UAP topic seriously, and who has vowed to not let this go.
I'm not going to let it go.
And who's been holding the heads of the DoD and the intelligence community accountable to execute the legislation that's included in the National Defense Authorization Act of 2023 that was signed into law by President Biden on December 23, 2022.
Director Haynes, do I have a commitment from you and each of our witnesses that you will work to reduce stigma, share intelligence between agencies, and as you're able with the public to ensure that we understand what's happening in our skies and seas? Secretary Austin, the incidents last month involving the Chinese high-altitude balloon and the 3 unknown objects highlighted the need for us to continue to improve our understanding of UAPs over U.S. airspace. Do you intend to ensure AARO receives full funding in the future?
And the person that's been tasked with leading the effort to meet the requirements of the NDAA is also the only witness that will be testifying at the hearing, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, a career government employee that has thus far been able to remain in the shadows. But this executive-level physicist and intelligence officer was thrust into the spotlight when he was assigned the responsibilities of being the director of AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. And on the morning of April 19th, I got up, got dressed, and headed to the Capitol to hear what he had to say. Welcome to Washington, D.C., April 19th. There's going to be a UFO congressional hearing today with the Senate Selects Armed Services Committee. And what I'm
going to get to try to go to it. So we'll see if this pans out or not. Come along with me for the ride.
As I made my way through the Capitol Mall, hoping that history was about to be made, I also started thinking about the UFO history that had already been made in this very location. When back in 1952, jets were scrambled on 2 consecutive weekends to investigate unidentified flying objects over DC. This event is believed by some to have been a watershed moment for the government, an in-your-face occurrence that forever shifted the government's approach to addressing the UFO topic. And as I approached the Russell Senate building where the hearing was to take place, I was cautiously hoping to witness another watershed moment in UFO history. Upon entering the building, I was reminded of just how amazing human ingenuity and creativity is. Humanity possesses the ability to take rock and turn it into mind-blowing, head-spinning art. Which is why I'm also equally obsessed with the marvelous and mysterious feats of ancient civilizations, as I am with the possible existence of a non-human civilization. I finally make my way to the room where the hearing will be held. I'm the 4th person to arrive, and to my surprise, the crowd doesn't get much larger. I honestly thought that there would be a much larger show of support from the UFO community. After all, thousands of people will travel every year to UFO conferences to hear people speak about UFO history and the future of the disclosure effort. And this hearing will be one of those events that people talk about at those conferences. So why are so few people here for the rare opportunity to watch UFO history unfold firsthand? So this is where I turn to you, the person watching this video, and ask you, if millions of people are willing to sign up to storm Area 51, which is a very bad idea, are you willing to show our elected officials that are putting their reputations on the line your support and gratitude by coming to DC in support of their efforts? Be respectful, be grateful, be supportive, but most importantly, be there so we can be heard. And yes, it could end up being a big nothing burger. But if nothing else, you'll get to spend the day in our nation's capital, which is honestly a pretty awesome place to spend time. But back to the hearing. As the closed session that preceded the open hearing wrapped up, a small crowd of citizens and members of the media waited to be led into the conference room. Once seated, we waited for the senators and Kirkpatrick to arrive. Soon, the hearing started, and for the first time, the public got to hear Kirkpatrick speak.
Dr. Kirkpatrick, you can give your testimony.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gillibrand, Ranking Member Ernst, distinguished members of the subcommittee. It's a privilege to be here today to testify on the defense's efforts to address unidentified anomalous phenomena.
What followed was less than encouraging, not only because of the content of the conversation, but also because of the deafening silence of the missing members of the subcommittee. And if you haven't already, I recommend you go ahead and watch the hearing. But here's what I think the highlights of it were. The histogram slide that Kirkpatrick showed.
What you'll see on the left is a histogram of all of our reported sightings as a function of altitude. So most of our sightings occur in the 15 to 25,000 foot range. On the far right upper corner, you'll see a breakout of the morphologies of all of the UAP that are reported. Over half, about 52% of what's been reported to us, are round orb spheres. The rest of those break out into all kinds of different other shapes. The gray box is essentially there's no data on what its shape is. Either it wasn't reported or the sensor did not collect it. The bottom map is a heat map of all reporting areas across the globe that we have available to us. That's where all of our sensors exist. In the middle, what we have done is reduce the most typically reported UAP characteristics to these fields, mostly round, mostly 1 to 4 meters, white, silver, translucent, metallic, 10,000 to 30,000 feet, with apparent velocities from stationary to Mach 2. No thermal exhausts usually detected. We get intermittent radar returns, we get intermittent radio returns, and we get intermittent thermal signatures.
Obviously, the unresolved UAP video that he discussed.
You'll see it come through the top of the screen. There it goes. And then the camera will slew to follow it. You'll see it pop in and out of the field of view there. This is essentially all of the data we have associated with this event from some years ago. It is going to be virtually impossible to fully identify that just based off of that video.
And the admission that AARO currently doesn't have Title 50 authority.
You need any authorities that you don't have to get the data?
There are some authorities that we need. We currently are operating under Title 10 authorities, but we have good relationships across the other agencies. But having additional authorities for collection, tasking, counterintelligence,
that's something.
Those are all things that would be helpful, yes.
Which, according to Tim McMillan, means that AARO has limited access to most information in the intelligence agencies, like the CIA, NRO, NGA, and NSA. So AARO may only have access to about 20% of the U.S.'s collection potential. Yet, even with the limited information that they have access to, they're still tracking 650 cases. They've also heard witness testimony from 24 whistleblowers. My immediate impression of the hearing was that it didn't live up to even my low expectations. But after the live stream was cut, things got a little weird, with members of the audience speaking up about their knowledge of the subject and personal experiences. I was personally a little embarrassed because I didn't think it was a very tactful way to be heard. But I must say that Senator Gillibrand handled the situation with grace and poise. She stayed much longer than I would have expected, giving her attention to many members of the public in a sincere manner that allowed them to feel heard, which convinces me even further that she is a genuine advocate for truth and transparency on the UAP topic for the public. And then I got my moment with her. I told her that I was grateful for her determination to not let this go, and then I asked her,
How did you think the hearing went today?
I think the hearing was very helpful. I thought Dr. Kirkpatrick clearly laid out the scientific approach he's taking to all of the unidentified aerial phenomena that he's had access to. He said he's had access to over 600 pieces of data, whether it's video or radar or heat sensor. He's going to analyze it through a scientific method with two teams. He talked about his scientific team, and he talked about his intel-oriented team, and how they do a thorough review, and if they disagree, then they adjudicate it. I thought that's a great scientific method to actually begin to identify this. At the end of the day, if he's got 600 or so unidentified aerial phenomena, he will bring it down to a very small number of what is still unknown. But the process of figuring out what it is it a drone? Is it a weather balloon? Is it a spy balloon? Is really important, because we need to know, number one, what our adversaries know. Are they using technology against us? Are they doing intel collection around our bases? We need to know whether it's something like debris or something that's not concerning, or whether it truly is unknown. And that's really the purpose of his office. And I think having this transparent, focused effort is something that the United States must have.
Absolutely.
And it's something the people of this country have asked for.
And were there any questions that you didn't get to ask that you would have liked to
No,
have
I
asked?
asked all my questions. Okay. I don't know all the things that everybody in this audience knows. And so just being able to talk to some of you about what are the things that you've seen, you've researched, things that you have access to. One of my questions was about how do we get this portal up and running so that we have an interface between the public and the AARO office so that anybody can submit video, anybody can submit data and information. There's a number of scientists here that also have data and information. We want to increase that coordination.
Thank you very much. Thank you for not letting this go.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure.
After that, we all left the room and went our separate ways. As I departed the building, my head was spinning. Thankful for the opportunity to attend a congressional hearing in person. Thankful to speak directly to a senator that's a voice of reason in the UFO community. And thankful to have absconded with Kirkpatrick's name card. But I was also frustrated. Frustrated with the content of the hearing, but more precisely, the lack of content of the hearing. So I had to go find a way to blow off some steam and distract myself. I tried touring the Capitol Mall, but that didn't work. I tried sitting on a bench next to the reflecting pool in hopes that someone would exchange briefcases with me, but no one came. So I resorted to drowning my sorrows in an overpriced food truck cheesesteak, and that slowly made me start feeling better. But after I returned home to Tennessee and some time went by, I revisited the hearing and started to feel more optimistic about what we did get out of it. And the analysis on the latest episode of the Micah Hanks program left me feeling positive about it, and hopeful about the next round of congressional hearings on UFOs that's rumored to be scheduled for June, which just so happens to be at about the same time that AARO's next annual report will come due. And now that you've seen what it's like to attend a congressional hearing in person, what's stopping you from coming to the next one? I hope to see you there.